You're listening to Quantum Humanitarian, where we don't just talk about the world, we question it.
Thanks for joining us. As an AI native exploration, we bring you insights from Ali Al Mokdad's published work, reflections, and lived experience in a way no traditional show can. We can, instantly draw from his entire body of thought, shaping conversations that distill complex ideas into clear, actionable understanding.
We keep it real, reflective, and forward-looking, so whether you're a policymaker, a humanitarian, or just someone curious about where the world is heading, there's something here for you.
And you'll find links and resources in the description if you want to explore more.
So let's unpack a really ambitious undertaking today, the UN80 initiative. This is a significant effort to reimagine the United Nations at a time when financial strain is mounting and global dynamics are shifting pretty dramatically.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, I think, is that UN80 isn't just about making the UN more efficient, though. That's part of it. It's fundamentally about redefining its relevance in today's world. The assessment we're drawing from today doesn't really take sides. It's not here to criticize or cheerlead, but to give you a clear, honest look at what UN80 is all about and where it might be headed. That neutrality is a really important starting point.
Right. And it really sets an interesting context, doesn't it? It reminds me, Ali Al Mokdad once described previous UN reform efforts as a broken machine trying to fix itself with its own broken tools and the engineers, geared for maintenance, not change. That perspective feels crucial for understanding how he approaches this UN80 assessment, focusing on, strategic honesty and realism, rather than just superficial fixes that don't really tackle the core issues. Okay, so to really understand this initiative, we need to break it down a bit. Ali's assessment highlights three core areas, three pillars. The first one tackles something that's always a pain point for big organizations: internal efficiency. What's this pillar actually aiming for within the UN's, sprawling structure?
Well, the main aim is really to cut down on red tape, streamline things, and relocate certain functions to regions where operating costs are lower. Imagine moving some back office operations maybe to places like Nairobi or Bogota. The idea is to free up resources currently tied up in, let's say, administrative overhead. And then you redirect those savings towards vital frontline programs, poverty reduction, climate resilience initiatives, or emergency response efforts. A leaner structure ideally means enhanced agility, quicker aid deployment when crises hit.
That sounds like a clear win-win on paper. I mean, aligning with the general push to do more with less. It certainly seems promising, especially if it genuinely empowers regional and country offices to make faster decisions without needing constant centralized approval. But
Yeah.
we've heard this kind of thing before, haven't we? What makes this effort different, or potentially different, from past attempts to streamline that haven't quite delivered?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? While the intention is sound, the challenges are, significant. The UN's bureaucratic complexity has historically resisted deep change. We've seen past reforms often deliver only cosmetic results. The real insight here isn't just that execution matters, obviously it does, but that UN80's success really hinges on overcoming that deep-seated political inertia that's doomed past efforts. There are deeply entrenched institutional interests, among staff, sure, but also member states, that could slow down or dilute these efforts. Unless UN80 finds a genuinely novel way to confront that fundamental roadblock, rather than just rehashing a familiar challenge, decisive follow-through will be incredibly difficult.
Okay, moving on. What's particularly fascinating about the next pillar, the second one, is its embrace of artificial intelligence. That sounds intriguing. How exactly is AI being leveraged in this massive reform?
Right, so this component uses AI to assess nearly 4,000 mandates. These are basically the specific responsibilities and tasks assigned to the UN over decades by its member states. The goal is for the AI to identify redundancies, maybe flag outdated tasks, and help sharpen the UN's overall focus. It's a bold, definitely tech-enabled approach to a problem that's been acknowledged for ages, but rarely tackled head-on in such a systemic way.
AI's ability to rapidly analyze such complex data sounds like a potential game changer. You could really pinpoint where there's duplicative work across, say, peacekeeping, humanitarian response, development, all those areas. And then, theoretically, free up resources for emerging global priorities like climate change or inequality or digital governance. But, okay, let's say the AI clearly identifies these redundancies. What happens next? What stops the same old political gridlock from just ignoring the AI's findings?
That's exactly it. It certainly has that analytical potential. But the real test won't be the AI's analysis, but the political courage of member states to actually act on the uncomfortable truths the AI might reveal. Mandates are inherently political. not just technical checklists. Deciding which ones to retire will inevitably spark diplomatic friction. Member states will defend their national interests, their influence, even their funding streams. What's fascinating is, if AI does clearly identify overlaps, but political will still blocks their retirement, well, that actually highlights the UN's institutional rigidity even more starkly, doesn't it? It could potentially erode trust in the whole idea of reform. It really makes you wonder, though. Close your eyes for a second and just imagine. What would humanitarian action truly look like if AI could perfectly streamline global mandates, ensuring every dollar, every effort went exactly where it was most needed, completely free from bureaucratic overlap?
Wow, it's quite a picture.
It's the ideal, yeah. But as we said, the political reality is, well, it's complex.
Okay, so now let's get into what might be the boldest pillar of the UN80 initiative. Structural changes. We're talking potentially merging overlapping UN agencies. That sounds like an organizational earthquake waiting to happen.
It absolutely could be. This part aims to eliminate duplication, enhance coordination, and modernize a fragmented structure that's, let's face it, long been criticized for inefficiency. For example, public reports suggest potential mergers like UNAIDS with the World Health Organization, or maybe UN Women with the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA. Think about it. Integrating UNAIDS with WHO could streamline global health coordination. And aligning UN Women with UNFPA might create powerful synergies in policy, advocacy, service delivery, especially in areas like maternal health or tackling gender-based violence.
Those sound like strong arguments on paper for sure. But you can just imagine the challenges, can't you? Turf wars between agencies, staff feeling alienated or threatened, potentially disrupting essential services during the transition. These are huge risks. The concern, I guess, is that these reforms could end up looking like simple downsizing rather than a true strategic transformation. That could really damage morale and effectiveness. Like, take UNAIDS. It has this critical multi-sectoral advocacy role, right? Bringing together government, civil society, all sorts of sectors beyond just health to tackle HIV/AIDS comprehensively. That unique, broad approach. Could it get marginalized if it's just folded into WHO's mainly biomedical model, which focuses more on the medical side? How do you navigate that kind of deep tension?
Precisely. And this is where the neat theory of reform crashes into the messy reality of international politics. The path is definitely fraught with difficulties. Success here will depend heavily on, well, patient diplomacy, a really unified vision among member states, and a clear plan for managing that inevitable resistance. Without those, the UN could actually end up more fragmented, not less, just due to all the internal fighting.
So we've talked about AI playing this significant role in mandate review, but is UN80 really embracing the full potential of digital transformation across the board, or is the current focus a bit narrow?
That's a really crucial point. While using AI for mandate analysis is innovative, yeah, Ali's work does highlight that the initiative hasn't fully grappled with the broader picture of digitalization. We're talking about things like automating parts of service delivery, maybe using low-code platforms for internal systems, or even the wider impact AI will have on the workforce across the entire UN system. There seems to be a noticeable lack of a really comprehensive digital strategy, one that covers ethics, inclusion, data governance, all of that. Digitalization shouldn't just be a feature or a single tool. It needs to be woven into the very fabric of the reform, changing how the UN operates day to day.
Okay, and another undeniable factor driving all this, obviously, is the financial situation. Budget pressures are clearly a key force behind UN80.
For sure. Financial constraint can be a powerful catalyst for reform. It can force institutions to confront inefficiencies they might otherwise ignore. But it also carries the risk of just short-sighted cost-cutting that could undermine long-term capacity or even harm critical programs. What's kind of notable is the lack, so far, of a publicly articulated comprehensive financial framework to go along with UN80. This raises concerns that cuts might just be applied uniformly, or maybe politically, rather than strategically, based on what's most effective for actually delivering the UN's mission. Financial reform has to be about aligning resources with those critical outcomes, not just, balancing the books for appearances.
And then there's the big elephant in the room. Equity, power, representation. Does UN80 truly address who holds the decision-making power? Or does it risk just shuffling deck chairs?
It's a fundamental question, absolutely. While relocating functions to lower-cost regions might look like a nod to equity, it doesn't directly tackle who holds the ultimate decision-making power within the UN system. That's a deeper issue. The challenge remains that the major players, like the five permanent members of the Security Council, they aren't likely to give up control easily, not without significant pressure and a clear path forward that shows benefits for everyone. Yet this initiative does present an opportunity, maybe, to elevate regional strengths. You could imagine, say, Africa becoming a real hub for peacekeeping expertise, or Asia leading on digital governance standards. For UN80 to truly succeed, though, it has to address those power dynamics head on and embed regional priorities right into the governance structures. It needs to go beyond just symbolic gestures.
And finally, perception matters hugely, right? How the world sees these changes. Success really hinges on public understanding and support. How's that looking?
Well, while there have been initial steps like a dedicated web page, some occasional updates, Ollie's analysis suggests the current messaging is pretty technical, maybe a bit sporadic. This risks alienating key audiences. Local communities, the broader global public, they might feel disconnected or just uninformed about what these changes actually mean for them. Communication really needs to be treated as a core pillar of the reform itself. Strategic, inclusive, multilingual to build trust and legitimacy. Otherwise, the whole reform effort could just seem detached from global realities, which would undermine its entire purpose.
So putting all this together, what does it mean for the future of the UN? Ali Al Mokdad sketches out several possible futures for UN80. Let's start with the hopeful one, the best case scenario. What could that look like?
Okay, in Ollie's best case, UN80 really succeeds, truly transforms the organization. You'd see significantly streamlined operations, maybe administrative costs cut by around 15%, with those funds going directly to frontline programs. You could see core functions successfully move to hubs like Bogota or Nairobi, speeding up crisis responses quite significantly. Field teams would become genuinely empowered, with decision-making shifting away from distant HQs to regional offices, allowing for faster, more effective action during crises. Power distribution would hopefully become fairer, with new governance models bringing in more voices from the global south. And crucially, there'd be a renewed sense of purpose. Mandates clarified, overlapping programs like, say, WHO and UNAIDS, maybe uniting into a single, more cohesive health entity. Ali even imagines a kind of catalyst scenario where some major global event happens, and the reformed UN proves its ability to deliver, really rekindling belief in multilateralism just when the world needs it most.
That sounds transformative. But Ali also paints a picture of what he calls a shadow scenario, which, frankly, sounds a bit chilling. What happens if UN80 hits its technical targets but loses something vital in the process?
Yeah, this is the worrying alternative. In this scenario, UN80 achieves its technical milestones. You get the trimmed bureaucracy, the AI-powered mandate reviews, the sleek dashboards showing progress, but it loses its normative soul, its values. Efficiency starts to overshadow empathy. Algorithmic tools might prioritize cost-effectiveness over contextual nuance. So responses might be guided by scalable templates rather than culturally informed, locally relevant solutions. Normative mandates, things like human rights, gender equality, they risk getting absorbed into broader resilience portfolios. Their political edge kind of dulled down. Civil society is barely engaged. Field offices become stripped of their voice and vision, just implementing decisions made far away. By 2028, in this scenario, the UN risks becoming a kind of global delivery contractor. Streamlined, yes. Data-rich, sure, but morally hollow. Delivering services with precision, but without solidarity or a real voice for justice. It manages risk, but it no longer truly aspires to justice.
Wow. Those scenarios really lay bare the incredible potential, but also the dangerous pitfalls embedded in this UN80 initiative. It's a very stark reminder of what's at stake.
Absolutely. Ali Al Mokdad views this as much more than just some technical reorganization. It's a profound test of political will, of strategic clarity, and ultimately of moral courage. He often brings up Dag Hammarskjöld's timeless warning. The UN was not created to take mankind to heaven, but to save humanity from hell. It puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. It's a powerful call for courageous, principled ambition, for leveraging technology intelligently, yes, but also for matching coherence with commitment and efficiency with dignity. As Ali's final words on this assessment emphasize, the clock is ticking, the world is watching, and the real work is just beginning.
This has been Quantum Humanitarian, an AI-native show shaped by analyzing, understanding, and reflecting on published work and lived experience.
Our goal is not just to inform, but to spark imagination, to keep you questioning, connecting, and rethinking the systems we live in.
Next time, we'll push this even further. We won't reveal the theme just yet, but trust us, it's one you won't want to miss.
Until then, keep imagining, keep questioning, and keep building a better tomorrow.